My producers weren't surprised to see the name Tito Mboweni associated with tourism. They know that he is a fly fisherman of some repute, but they also know that he's a global traveller as well. He's been selected as the chairperson of the Tourism Business Council of South Africa. Tourism Business Council, of course, has had a massive fight on its hands over the last 2 years, particularly over visa regulations, for example. How much of a role did that play in the appointment of Tito Mboweni to the role of chairperson of the Business Tourism Council? This is the MoneyMakers. I'm Bruce Whitfield. I'm joined by the former Reserve Bank Governor Tito Mboweni. He serves on other boards. He serves on the National Executive Committee of the ANC. But we also talk about the growing South African tourism sector and why it should be growing considerably more and how it could be used to offset some of the lousy economic news that faces us on a regular basis. And then, if there's time, and only if there's time, if he keeps his answers short, which we hope he does, we might touch on some politics as well. Tito Mboweni, nice to have you with us. What's your attraction to tourism?
Thank you very much for inviting me here. I think that tourism can play a very, very important role in the South African economy. I have observed how in other parts of the world, tourism plays a very important part. You only need to go for a walk around the Houses of Parliament in London or around the Windsor Castle or go visit the White House and the Houses of Parliament there and other places. You only need to go and see how many people go fishing, indeed, in Dalstrom and other places to notice that tourism has an important role to play. Entertain, relax, but also to appreciate the environment. And so its role in the economy is quite big. You asked me the question, why was I interested in this? Well, I was pulled, kicking and screaming.
She's quite bossy.
Well, yes, it was Mavuso Msimang,
actually.
Who said that, no, come along and play a role here with us. And I think it was quite strategic on their part to invite me to come here.
What you going to add to it?
More as an economist, really. But also an ambassador at large for the organization. My task there is very simple. Non-executive chairman of the board. Clearly, the normal board governance issues, strategic planning, budgets.
The boring stuff.
That kind of thing. But more importantly, the strategic interaction with the role players. You mentioned just now the visa regulation issue. It's something that I'll have to get into almost immediately.
It's such a critical issue because one of the big issues that Matsatsi's been fighting, the chief executive of the Tourism Business Council and so many of the members of the Tourism Business Council have been fighting is we've gone through a period of extraordinary rand weakness, become very attractive as a long-haul destination, just on a currency basis, never mind anything else. It's a nice and cheap place to visit. We've missed an opportunity as a result of people who didn't know which side was up, which side was down in terms of visa regulations. We probably still don't. There's still an outstanding order from a presidential task team, a ministerial task team that gave instructions to Home Affairs as to what to do. They haven't done it. You've got to bash some heads together.
We have to get into that almost immediately and deal with it. We need to get the government agencies and officials to understand the negative impact these rules and regulations are having on the sector. We need to move quickly. We need to move quickly with the stabilization of South African Airways. It's a very key member of our council.
And they're part of your board, right?
Yeah, they're on the council. And they're very, very key and important in promoting South African tourism. So we have to get into that as quick as we can. We have to get into strategic coordination with national tourism. The Minister of Tourism, Derek Hanekom, who I think understands these issues much better. We have to get into a very important strategic coordination with let's say the countries from which people will come. We know that mostly the Chinese and the Japanese now will be coming to our side. We need to have a strategic approach to that. We have as well to maintain and still grow our traditional base, being Europe, and in particular the German, the UK. And we must encourage the English to stay more at hotels and not with their relatives when they come here.
There are so many South Africans who come home for a visit and they go back. But tourism's got many facets and many issues. An adversarial relationship between the mainstream tourism industry and government, and that's worsened. But the tourism industry itself fights. There's almost like a little civil war, a low-level civil war that brews within the tourism industry. You've got the Sun Internationals of the world who don't want to help the Fair Lawns boutique hotels of the world, the Fair Lawns boutique hotels who don't want to be the part of the same group as the big guys, yet they want the funding and they want the support and they want SA Tourism to miraculously promote tourism to South Africa. We need to get some sort of cohesion.
There has to be a strategic working together by the various actors. And I'm aware that the big and the small have issues amongst them. What during my political days was going to be called the unity and struggle.
There we go.
So they're united but still struggling. But
that's Karl Marx, isn't it?
They have to, yes.
You see, I know one quote from Karl Marx.
I always knew that you were a Marxist.
Deep down, somewhere.
Now, they have to learn to work together. The reason why there's the Tourism Business Council was to bring all these players together for them to have a structure, a mechanism to interact all around. But I think one of the things that we need to do is to really strategically promote domestic tourism.
When last did you take a short left?
Last week.
Last week. But you always go to the same place. You go off to Delstrom, you go off to Mpumalanga, and you go and try and scare fish with a fly.
And I go to Mahobaskloof too.
And Mahobaskloof. Okay, so you go to Limpopo as well.
Yeah. But we need to get the black middle class to start taking domestic tourism seriously.
I know you don't want to answer this question, but I must ask you. Yeah. Julius Malema, no formal, so this is switching tack a little bit. Julius Malema, no formal alliances with any political party, but in all but name, an opposition alliance being formed in key metros. How much, as a member of the NEC of the ANC, how much of a blow is it?
Well, one, I can't speak for the NEC, but...
as a member of the NEC, how does it feel? Well,
I think that the truth of the matter is that no matter how you dress it up, the ANC lost the metros. And with that comes the loss of control of about 85 to 86% of the municipal budgets. The conclusion of that, the only conclusion you can draw to that we lost economic power. And it's a very painful process.
It's called democracy.
But it's a democratic process. It happens in many other parts of the world. In England, for example, the Conservative Party is the central government of the UK, but London is under the Labour Party, which is opposition. So it's nothing unusual. People shouldn't think we've come to the end of the world.
How much of a warning is the NEC, because you met over the last weekend?
Well, I can't speak for the NEC. Okay. But so Zizi Kodwa is the most qualified person to speak.
But are you as an NEC member concerned about 2019 based on what you have seen the people of South Africa vote in predominantly metro areas in these municipal elections?
You know, if you talked about my town of Tzaneen, where I live, I think of the 36 seats which were there, how many did the ANC get? 33.
But that's Tzaneen. It's not Ikuruleni, it's not City Johannesburg, it's not Tshwane, it's not Nelson Mandela Bay.
I know, but it shouldn't be too big city-centered. There the people have also spoken. And so your city people like to...
City slickers.
You like to undermine us from the small towns. The ANC did very well there, and I think we should congratulate them equally. But I think what you're saying is a temporary seismic political development. And I call it a temporary seismic political development deliberately. Because anyway, seismic activity is temporary. It's not permanent. A bit of shake of things a bit. A warning about the changed nature of our society, that there's increasing mass urbanization taking place in South Africa. With mass urbanization, at its beginning, tends to be huge amounts of demands on infrastructure and services. And that's what we are seeing generally, people in shanty towns and marginalized and so on. And that's what we're going through. So it's a complex issue. They are desirous of us to come with complex solutions.
I like the fact that it gives opposition parties a chance to actually find out what it's like to govern. And see that it's not simple.
No, you know. Yeah, but look, at the end of the day, if you live in a town or a city what are your expectations? You want the lights to work. You want the traffic lights to work, what South Africans call robots.
Yes.
You want the water services to work. And you want the potholes to be closed. And you want sanitation to, and so on. That's what about city and municipal management. But you also want the plumbing services and, so on, everything to work. But there's no doubt in my view, I don't know whether this is a view shared by other members of the ANC, but as a political scientist myself, I've observed that these local elections were dominated too much by national issues. And not by whether the plumbing services are working, whether the traffic light is working.
But isn't that a political barometer and a warning to the governing party on a national basis?
It's an indication of what I said earlier about the growing changes in our society. But also, I think some of the political parties became victim to the tactics of others. In other words, to try and focus, for example, on Jacob Zuma all the time, and not focus on whether the city of Joburg has done the following things.
It's politics.
So it almost became a referendum.
Yeah.
So it was interesting but depressing at the same time.
But temporary.
A temporary seismic shift.
At that point, we will leave it. Tito Mboweni, thank you so much for coming in. Wearing his hat this evening as chairperson of the Tourism Business Council of South Africa. There's a huge amount of work to be done, not only within the boardroom of the Tourism Business Council and getting its members to cooperate better amongst themselves, but also getting the various arms of government to work better with the Tourism Business Council, the tourism properties, and getting those tourism properties to realize they need to be part of a new South Africa, as well as more South Africans need to start taking domestic tourism options. There are lots of beautiful places to see and lots of relaxing places to go. But next time on the MoneyMakers, we'll look to shake up your world a little bit more. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.